All right, today we're here and we're gonna talk a little bit about how to handle orphan kittens that are still on the bottle. These guys should only be about 4 to 6 weeks still on the bottle. They usually go for adoption around 2 months. And again, there is no set timeline. Some will kind of naturally come off the bottle at 3 weeks. Some will make it to 5 or 6. It just really, really depends. Anyways, so this girl, she's Poppy, and she's about 4 weeks maybe. She's about a month old. You know, her ears are up, her eyes are open. She's really alert, and she's, you know, moving around really well. Couple things to note about these guys. If you find them out and about, please do not move orphan kittens that you think are abandoned. Many times they're not, and the moms are just moving the litter, and that can take them up to 6 to 8 hours. So just be real careful. I mean, that's an extreme circumstance, but most of the time it's a couple hours, but still just be really, really careful on moving them because sometimes they're not abandoned. Okay, so first thing, these guys, how you feed them and make sure you're handling them correctly is you want to make sure that you are weighing them, and you have to stimulate them before you do it. So they cannot use the bathroom yet. So what I use, and one of the tips I use, is I use a baby wipe. And it helps me, and of course I use the non-fragrance, sensitive one. Now some kittens, you'll notice, they will actually develop a rash and start to lose hair here. So if that happens and you have a kitten that's very, very sensitive, go ahead and you're gonna have to use hot water and a towel. But this should really help. This makes it easier for me because I can stimulate and I can toss it away. So all you do is you basically take it and very gently you just rub the genitalia until she either pees or poos or whatever. Anyway, she's kind of already gone, so I'm not gonna do it too much. You don't need to press hard, and you need to do it for a little while. Sometimes they won't do it right away, so this can take a while and they don't like it. So this can be this is really the worst part of it all. Sorry, we're doing it outside because it's a beautiful day. Anyway, so you just stimulate her, and then you're gonna weigh her on any kitchen food scale, and you're gonna do it in ounces, and there's a chart that tells you from her starting ounce to her end ounce where she should be, and I will attach that below. And that should be that's gonna be your judgment. Now, as far as the actual milk itself goes, what I recommend is you've got a couple different options. This KMR with the white kitten on it, this is going to be your best, and you should really get this from the time that they're probably about till they're about 2 or 3 weeks old. This stuff is going to have your highest levels of like the proteins and things they really need. Now there's other options by Pet AG that's such as this one, and then there's one that also has a darker kind of striped kitten like her on it. That's another. They're both good and you can use them, and the big difference is this is $25 to $30. This is for 12 ounces, and for about 10 ounces you're going to pay about 12 to 15 for this one. Either one works. What I do highly recommend is stay away from the brand Hartz, H-A-R-T-Z. If you look it up, there's been a lot of cases where they have, there has been really bad instances where animals have passed away using their products. Anyways, so that's what I would recommend, those two. Another tip I would tell you is the Pedialyte. Especially when you get these guys and you don't know where they came from or where they've been or what condition they're in, use Pedialyte, because when you're making this, you're going to use a 2-to-1 formula. So as you do your 1 scoop, do your 2 here, and you can mix it with water or whatever. I tend to do all of it with Pedialyte at the beginning until I know that they're good, and then I switch to with water in there as well. And then, so that's a good way to kind of help them stay hydrated. Then you've got, the other thing you can do is as they get older, you can actually start to put in baby food, or you can actually use wet cat food too if you want to heat it up. I would invest in a bottle warmer because I heat up so many bottles. This is not really doing anything for them except for just adding flavor. Be very careful on what you pick. Make sure that you pick the meat. There's turkey, beef, and if you see the one I have, it's turkey and turkey gravy, so all she's getting is the meat flavoring. And it's hopefully to encourage her to eat the wet food, and we can hopefully get off the bottle soon. So like I said, stay away from any vegetables. There's turkey, there's ham, there's beef, so there's different selections that you can go to with that. All right, and then the other thing would be this. Everybody seems to have one of these bottle blenders around for working out. This tends to be fantastic for mixing their formulas. It's just something I've noticed over the years. I can make so much, keep it in the fridge for a couple days, and it's easy to do, and I'm not mixing a bottle every time I have to feed them. So anyways, another kind of tip. Okay, so once you've pottied them and you've weighed them, obviously then it's next to feeding. So when you get to the feeding part, the main things are this. Number one, she cannot be fed on her back. When she's fed on her back, she can get milk in our lungs and aspirate it, and they literally will drown. So as they're young, one way is you can swaddle them and basically take their front arms away, and then you feed them and they'll take on right away. The other thing you can do is I let them, when they get older, use their own back legs. It just seems to help them. It's a way. I don't think it matters which technique you have in feeding them, as long as you don't feed them on their backs and they're doing okay. Also remember, these guys have to be burped just like babies. So how I do it once they're this age and they're not little, once they're more ambulatory, what I do is I take them, and again, I let them use their back legs. I pick them up and I use my forefinger to direct the head, and then I bring the nipple in. And the other thing about the nipple is I tend to like to make a little hole. I don't like the X, but again, up to you. The company suggests the X. Anyways, she gets real excited about the food. Anyways, let her take the nipple, and then I put it up, and I give it a little squeeze to get it going. Do not squeeze it into their mouths. Of course, they will go at their own rate. One way to know that they're getting the milk, because when they're little, they drink slowly and you can't really tell, is watch their ears. Their ears will move back and forth. So as she's drinking, and she drank a little bit, so she's not going to go crazy with this. As they get older, especially ones like this that keep eating, they will actually get to a point where they'll go through a bottle or two. Okay, so she's fine. I'm not too worried about her. We actually fed her before, right before we've tried to do this video. So anyways, that's how I would do it. Again, main things are, and she's gonna be mad at me, is get the bottle up, get it flowing, and apply pressure with my thumb. I don't push on it. What I do is, as she sucks and the vacuum effect takes on, I just push to keep the pressure down so she doesn't have to do it herself. And so I just lightly give it pressure, and as she sucks, my thumb goes with it. Now if she starts to let up at the end to let the bubbles up, of course I let up as well. And then at the end, like I said, just like a baby, put her on your shoulder and just burp her, and they will burp and you will definitely hear it. And of course they can get in their milk comas just like real babies. So anyways, that's the basics there. And then of course you want to potty them again at the end, and then lastly you're gonna weigh them to see what their ounces are. And as long as they've kind of gained the right amount of ounces from their starting weight, you're pretty much good to go. The other things to remember about bottle babies, they cannot manage their own temperature. So when it comes to that, I'm not saying everybody has to come out and buy different things, because these guys can get real expensive real fast. Besides the time commitment, they need to be fed every 2 to 3 hours at the beginning, and it can start to space out to 5 to 6 hours until they're on their own. But I would recommend a couple things. You can get one of just your normal heating pads, like at a Walgreens, and they run like $10. Just make sure that they should always have a cool place to go to get away from the heat, and they should always, and make sure they never have direct heat. Make sure there's a pad on top of it or whatnot. The other thing, if you want to go a little bit different, is I recommend this. There's a thing called Snuggle Safe. This is basically a disc. It's very heavy. I don't know how heavy this is, but I want to tell you about a couple pounds. And basically you put it in the microwave for about 5-6 minutes, and this thing will basically produce heat, not a real searing heat, but a good heat for about 8 hours. So I love it because I can heat it up and it'll last me half the day almost. And then it comes with a cover, and there's other covers, and so you just pop it in the microwave, you heat it up, and it's not plugged in anywhere. It can go in, and the cats just love it. And it's a washable cover. So I would do that, or I would do a heating pad and keep it on low and keep a blanket over them. Again, they can't regulate their heat, so make sure you're watching that. Make sure you're watching their weight. If you ever have concerns, I always recommend getting to a vet right away, but hopefully some of these tips will help you with them. If you ever have any questions, please reach out and I will answer any way I can. All right, thank you.